Hello. This is a bit mad. Hi, we've made a film called All We Lost, and it's about The Last of Us, parts 1 and 2. Obviously, you knew that because you've come here to watch it. We're going to show the film now, and then we're going to come out afterwards and do a bit of a chat about it and a Q&A. And if anyone's got any questions or wants to know anything, feel free to ask away. So without any further ado, All We Lost.
I think it's gonna
Seems super awkward that we came up and sat down halfway through, but we love that music, so we have to sit and just, everyone had to listen to it, just so we could.
Thank you so much. Hi, everyone.
Hi.
So, I'm Ben.
My name is Nika.
I'm Abby. I played Ellie and was one of the producers.
I played Abby, and I'm also one of the producers.
And I played Joel, and I was one of the producers, and our director, Sam, is sat in the front row.
And a lot of our cast and crew are as well.
And
so.
yeah, most of the people you saw on screen are sat in the front row as well.
Yeah.
We could talk about this all day because this has been the last 18 months of our life. But if anyone's got any questions and wants to ask us anything, we would love to talk to you guys.
Because if not, we can just go off. We can go off about this for a long time. Ah, we have a question. Hi. How do we go through the audition process of choosing people for the role?
Nepotism.
No, it's we actually didn't have any auditions for this because we started it as a really small project. We started out with Sam, our director, messaging myself and Abby, and he just asked us if we wanted to do a photo shoot, like you do in cosplay. You just do a photo shoot. And that turned into, oh, maybe we can do a video. And from there, it kind of spiraled into this massive thing we just showed you. And we kind of asked friends and mutuals in the cosplay community if anyone wanted to join. And that's basically how we got our cast together.
A really massive thing is that most of us hadn't met before this project. It was one of those things where Sam invited Nika and myself to do a photo shoot, and then we were like, oh, it'd be cool if we had a few more characters. You know, we're going to the effort to travel and get together. And this was, you know, just after the first lockdown, wasn't it? So we were really conscious of numbers and just keeping things outside and safe as possible. So we sort of like reached out and was like, oh, if anyone wants to join, we're sort of doing this. And that was our very first shoot back in September, which was nothing to do with this. That was an entirely different video. Oh, I went really Somerset then, I apologize. That was an entirely different video. That was just like a little 5-6 minute video we did. And we really liked how it came out. A lot of people really enjoyed it. And we were like, oh, we could maybe, you know, make something else like this. And, you know, we had so many people being like, oh, if you did something like this again, we'd love to be involved. And I could do this character and that character. And we were like, okay. Let's do it.
I think it all really started to come together when Hattie and Clara got involved and put clickers together. For the first shoot that we did, we had an abandoned building that we went to and did a shoot. And those guys came down and they looked absolutely fantastic. They built the clicker costumes themselves. And after that, people just started wanting to get involved, and it's been quite humbling.
Yeah, so I think it was our first acting experience for most of us. We have one actual actor, our Dina.
Stand up, Dina. Stand up, Dina.
Who's currently studying drama and theatre in London, and we're all so proud of her and how far she's going. So yeah, in terms of like an audition process, it was more so a thing of people being like, oh, I could do this character, and we were like, okay, and that was it, really. It was just a thing of, just if people fit the character and they wanted to do it and they wanted to get involved, they were more than welcome to do that.
Yeah, and that's something we definitely also want to continue while we move on to possibly doing some other projects. We want it to be a collaborative thing where people who might not have the experience will be able to join, and we just want to, keep that going, because that is what made it so fun for us. Yeah.
Any other questions? Yeah.
Where did we film?
Where didn't we film?
So it was all in the UK. Most of the people involved live below Watford.
I think we're pretty spread out, to be honest. But
I am.
Yeah.
I live up
no, we
in
have
the
Danny in
northeast.
Manchester.
There's me and Danny are in the
Mum
north.
and Dad
then
are
everyone
fighting.
else, then everyone else is down south. So we did a lot of stuff we did all the beach stuff in Weston-super-Mare. There was a lot of the inside sort of abandoned locations were
Hereford.
There was a big abandoned boarding school that we hired for the day to shoot in, which was horrible. There was no electricity there. When the night came in, it got really creepy.
We shot in a studio in Canary Wharf in London.
Epping Forest?
Epping
Woods Forest?
Yeah, Epping Forest.
It was very much a challenge because when working on a film like this, obviously the game is all set in America, and there's quite a divide between what America, like even just the wilderness in America and the UK. So we were really sort of struggling. I would say struggling, like we had enough people between us we knew of locations. So there's a place near me down in Somerset, sort of near Wales, that had just really, which was a lot of the travel scene with Ellie and Dina, like the really tall, straight trees. And we used that quite a lot, didn't we? Because that's really an American-looking forest. So we tried to keep it as consistent as possible. And we were very lucky that the locations we didn't hire, like I said, we had enough people in our group that we knew that very kindly offered locations and help with us. So my friend, Arctic Wolf Studios, has a big workshop in it used to be a factory. It used to be in a factory, a big warehouse. So he was like, oh, you can come film here if we want. And we were like, that's perfect, because it's a bunch of halls, and it really worked well, we think.
When we did the first little shoot, when we first got together, we went to a location that we'd heard of and we'd found, and we went and shot there, and we really shouldn't have been there. We had public liability insurance to shoot and stuff, but it was just an abandoned building that we'd seen. So when we started making All We Lost, we hired all the locations, we had everything, all the insurance, all the legal side of things.
Yeah, we wanted to make sure we did everything properly so we wouldn't get in any trouble. Because we also started to have a bit more, we had way more involved because the cast crew, we had some budget to work with, so... The shoot in Canary Wharf and the shoot in the boarding school, we had between 20 and 30 people there for both of those days, and to have that many people, it was daunting.
Yeah. Plus, you need facilities. You can't go through like 10 hours of filming without tea and coffee and toilets, we found out after that first shoot. So
it was a massive learning curve for us, because this is our first film we did, so we had to just learn along the way and find out where we could rent out locations and how we could properly do that with a cast of that many people.
And we're getting pretty good at it now.
That's what we want to stress. Like, this was the first time doing pretty much any of this for most of us. So, like Sam, the director, this was his first film project. This was all like a lot of our first experience acting. So it's a massive learning curve, and I feel like each shoot we got better. So after the first shoot, we were like, right, we need a call sheet. We need to have a time breakdown of where we need to be at this time, because obviously when you're working on a real film in a real production, you have makeup artists, you have runners, you have caterers. We were all of that, and the actors, and then obviously after that, the editors and everything. So it was like, we really had to learn how to be tight with our time.
Yeah, and I think going forward, we've learned, a lot. So we will know a bit better how to do everything and how to arrange our time and, location scouting, that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
Any, yeah?
Sam and I are very smug. So the shot in the window, so the shot after Ellie picks up the guitar and she plays it, and there's the shot in the window. That location itself was a complete accident. So Sam and myself, it was a very last minute shoot where he could travel down. So we were like, we'll get some extra like B-roll footage. So we were driving to shoot in a forest, and we passed like a farm, And we saw tucked away in the trees, there was like a cabin, like a abandoned cabin. We were like, oh, that looks really cool. And like out the front, there was like a broken down car and stuff. We were like, oh, that would be really cool. And obviously, as we said, we've wanted to do this properly. So because it was a property, there was an actual house on there. We went and knocked on the door, and this little old lady came out. And I was covered in blood at this point, and Sam had his camera. And, you know, we were like, hi.
Can I help you?
So we basically explained what we were doing, said it was an independent film, and we were just looking for a location. She was like, as long as more people don't come, it's fine. So we were like, it's just us. So we were just originally shooting out the front. Sorry for that.
Such an unflattering impression of a poor little old lady.
She was really nice. So we were shooting out front, and we saw the cabin, and we were like, oh, we're just going to see if we can get in. Like, it's probably going to be, like, destroyed and empty. And we got in, and it had just been abandoned. It was like an old, almost like garage. It had, like, a bunch of old car stuff in there, and it was perfect. And we went through to the back and saw that window, and we were like, that's just the menu from the first game. That's literally the menu from the first game. So we were very smug with that, and we were like, we're definitely going to get that. And Sam got some fantastic, like, we wanted to make sure we got plenty of world-building stuff, and that was a big part of it. So, yeah, that was a completely accidental shot that we very much liked. A lot of people thought we'd just taken that from the game. We kept getting messages like, is that just from the game?
Very lucky.
That's something that Sam did incredibly well the whole way through, because all of the footage there's... I might be wrong, but I don't think there's any stock footage in there at all.
Maybe
everything
one.
we filmed, that picture of the cabin.
Two stock footage.
Two little clips, but everything else, Sam's filmed himself with his camera, with the drone, with all sorts, and he's captured that Northwest America feel, I think, incredibly well, considering we were doing it in England.
Thank you. Cool question.
Any others? Yes.
We're not going to hear that, are we?
So for anyone who didn't hear, which is our favourite, The Last of Us 1 or 2?
I mean, as the actress for Abby, I need to say 2. But I love both games a lot. But Abby did mean a lot to me. She was one of the first women in popular culture I saw that looks like how I want to look. So for me, that meant a lot. And I think the story is incredible. Although I do really love the first game as well. So 2 for me.
I only played the first game just before The Last of Us 2 came out. So I did them one after the other. So the whole thing for me is just one big continued story. So I can't decide. I can't do it. 1.
Yeah, I mean, I'm the same as Nika. Obviously, I absolutely love 2. I have a very much opinion that 1 excelled in the story and 2 excelled in the gameplay. I feel like they sort of really learnt from that. I love both. And I did a BBC 3 documentary where I talked about my relationship with The Last of Us. And as I've grown up, I've always been the same age as Ellie. I've always been in that same age bracket. And I really related to her as a character. And in the first game especially, like how her relationship with Joel and their acceptance of each other, I just think it's a really amazing relationship, and there's so much character
You
development.
should not have been playing that game at that age.
I grew up on Naughty Dog. Naughty Dog have always been my favourite studio, so it's one of those things like I watched my brother play the game, like the Jack and Daxter games. That's how I got into it. And yeah, I shouldn't have been playing at that age, but I did. So I'm sorry. Number 1, but I adore number 2 as well. So yeah.
That was a cool question. Thank you. Any others?
Oh.
Yes?
Yes.
Shall I go?
We're there. Abby's going to come down with the
Come
microphone.
in.
Run.
I'm mobile today. It's great. Where are you? Hello.
Look at it go.
Okay. Random, maybe pointless question. How come the big guy at the beach didn't use his shotgun?
Sorry, I didn't get that. How come?
Abby?
So the big guy on the beach, the Rattler, why didn't he use his shotgun?
Yeah, it's a really good question.
I can answer.
We have...
We
No.
did. I've got.
So I would say
He should have just killed her then and been done with it, shouldn't he?
I can answer that. So by the originally that was meant to be a whole different section. We were meant to have a whole bit with Abby with the Rattlers. Obviously, when Abby and Lev get captured by the Rattlers, and by the end of the game, the Rattlers are a group that are really cocky. And when you interact with them in the game, they don't think anything can touch them. And we kind of wanted to go for that. So my friend Luke that played the Rattler, we were just like, just be as smarmy as possible. This is just a girl. This is just a skinny girl that's just coming at you. She's no threat. And that's the way we sort of directed it, because we were just like, he doesn't think she's a threat. And that's the whole thing with Ellie. You know, she's just a girl. But you should be terrified of her. So, not a pointless question. Quite a cool observation.
That was a really good answer.
Thank you. Thanks, I try.
When I wrote the script, after we did that first shoot, I sat down and started writing the script, and I wanted to make sure that it was all true to the two games, because a lot of people wanted to see alternate universe things where Abby got her head caved in, or, you know, various different storylines where Abby got her head caved in, and we wanted to keep it true to the story that was told, because it's not our story, it's just something that we fell in love with. So, like Abby said, we had other scenes in there that would have been really cool to shoot, but because of the practicalities of getting on a working farm or do it and then making it look post-apocalyptic, there was bits that we had to cut, which was quite disappointing. But we still have now a load of footage that didn't make it in, that was Sam's slowly putting bits together. And it's beautiful.
Super cut.
Thank you. Yes?
Yes?
Our own story.
Or in The Last of Us, or overall? Ooh.
I like that.
Original Last of Us story. I think, to divert from that a little bit, I think because we've worked on The Last of Us so much, we're trying to explore something new after this.
But there's a fan film out there called Stay. S-T-A-Y, Stay. And that is one of the best, not just in The Last of Us, but it's one of the best fan films I've ever seen. I very strongly urge everyone to go and watch it, because it's a beautiful, beautiful little piece of cinema. And that explores the relationship of two people and their family going through Outbreak Day, and it follows on from that, and it's gorgeous. And it's those little background characters, those people that you don't see, that's I wouldn't want to say anything more with Ellie or Abby. The stories get told by the people who made the characters, and but it's what happens in the background. But Stay, everyone has to. That's your homework.
It's
you have to go and watch
incredible.
Stay after this. It's fantastic.
Yeah, it's stunning. We were watching it like, this is just, we were just all in love with it. It was incredible. I think for me personally, if I had all the budget in the world, if I had all of that, I would absolutely love to explore immediately after Sarah dies and Joel's, how did Joel cope with that? You've got the world ending around you and you've just lost everything. And I just think it would be a really hard piece, but I think it would be really compelling. I don't know if we're the people to do that, but...
Did she die?
Sarah?
Oh, Sarah. Oh, yeah, no, sorry. I was thinking about Sarah as well. I was thinking about Sarah's
Joel?
mum.
Oh. And yeah, because something that we've talked about before, like with Joel and Sarah, obviously before the Outbreak Day, we don't know about Sarah's mum. We don't know about Joel's ex-wife.
I've got this thing in my head about Joel's ex-wife, because when you start the first game and you go around the house, there's no photos of her. There's only ever photos of Joel and Sarah. And I've got this is really depressing, I'm really sorry. I've got this thing in my head that she was an alcoholic and she left and it was too painful to have photos in the house. And that little headcanon that I've got going on then goes into the choice of the song that Joel sings to Ellie at the start of the film. It's a song called As Hope and Promise Fades by Chris Cornell. And it's about being an alcoholic. And after you see in The Last of Us 2 when he plays Future Days to Ellie, if I ever were to lose you, I'd surely lose myself. He's such a stern, closed-off guy. I've got this thing that the only way he can communicate with Ellie and give bits of his life to her is when he plays music for her. So that's why I chose that song to go in at the start of it, because that's giving her a little bit more of his life. That's really depressing. I'm really sorry.
I personally wanted tequila, but they didn't like that. Next cut.
Didn't
Next
work
cut
out.
of the film. Sorry.
Well, thank you. That was really
Thank
cool.
you.
Any other questions?
Ooh.
Yes.
Yes.
Jumanji.
What's next?
We'll show you in 5 minutes.
We'll show you
Well,
in
that's
a
your
little
question
bit.
in 5 minutes.
We've got 5 minutes, and then we've got a little something to show you from what we're doing next. But we
have a
now-
lot of
Productions.
plans.
Sports Productions.
Sports Productions. Oh, don't make me talk more.
So we got to the end of All We Lost, and we can't not do this now. This has been such a big part of our life for the last 18 months that it's like been working 2 full-time jobs, and when it went away, my head just went empty, and I was just... So we've now started a Patreon. We've got a Spores called Spores Productions, and the idea is we're going to make collaborative, narrative-driven content moving forward, be it in the form of short films or cosplay music videos or photo shoots, or we put a post on our Instagram today. We've got quite a cool thing with the next project with Helen, who I... Hey,
Oh
there
my
she
God,
is.
Songbird cosplay.
Stand up, please. Oh my God, it's Songbird cosplay. So we want to explore different things on social media and different ways of doing things, but yeah, it's...
The whole thing that we want to take forward with Spores Productions is there are so many incredibly talented cosplayers, videographers, photographers, and we want to give people the chance to, if they want to explore something new or explore something with a group of people, to approach us and be like, oh hey, I'd love to do some cinematography for this if you have an opening. And it's not going to be an audition process type thing. It's just going to be, we want to make a safe space for people to learn and for people to just interact with other creators and just have fun with it, because we find that there's not really, there's incredible CMV creators, cosplay music video creators, there's incredible tutorial pages, but there doesn't seem to be a hub of everything from all different people just kind of coming in when they feel like it.
That's the aspiration. That's what we want to...
Yeah, we've just had such a good time creating this that it would be a waste for us to not continue with other things that might come up.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Thanks, Tom.
We had another question
One more
somewhere
question?
here.
Yeah.
Shall I run? Shall I run?
Run.
I'm running.
Yeah, go.
Such a gremlin.
What time?
I'm coming.
I'd love to just see her out jogging.
Thank you. So one on the writing. I think for me, my interpretation at the end of the number 2 was actually Lev had a bit more of an impact of Ellie not going through with the death. Almost like the ending of a revenge cycle, if you will. That if you left him, he would have done this, and it goes on and on and on. However, that didn't seem to have the same sort of approach in the final one. It was more about individual growth, and they wanted to end it violently, but came to that decision on their own. Was there kind of a thought process that led to this idea that they came to the decision on their own, or less of an impact on Lev because of actors or something like that?
That'd be mostly you.
Thank you.
Ben wrote the story. So.
We actually had quite a bit of other interaction with Abby and Lev in some of the scenes that we had to cut because of the practicalities. So we did have a lot of Lev in there. The first draft of the script was up to Joel's death, and then it was pretty much a 50-50 split jumping between Abby and Ellie scenes up until that big point at the end. And the idea was to show Ellie losing herself more into this cycle of violence, and Abby finding herself come away from it and try and stop it. And that was all Lev that stopped that cycle of violence. And Ellie being alone didn't have that person to stop it. But a lot of that stuff happened on a farm or in other areas, and we started to run out of time and budget, and we felt we could still make the story work without getting those extra bits. So I wish there was more Lev, because Danny is fantastic. Danny's absolutely incredible, and he made an incredible Lev.
Yeah, I think we also had to kind of work with what we had at one point, because it was incredibly hard for us to plan shoot dates in between everyone's full-time jobs, money.
Yeah, and that's the thing. Everyone is working full-time jobs. We were all working while we were doing it, and trying to get 15 people in one location for one day is a nightmare, an absolute nightmare. So
the dream would obviously be for us to do to have a bigger budget and
I think
be able to pay people.
We definitely would have wanted to explore Lev more, because we all adore Lev as a character. And again, going back to the question of, what would be an idea in the Last of Us universe, I'd love to explore Lev more, because as a character, I think there's just so much there that we didn't get.
And I'd like to see more of Lev before.
Yeah.
I'd like to see more of the Seraphites before. That would be really cool.
I think the Seraphites, would be awesome. But yeah, a lot of it came down to budget, time, character, but we did want to sort of focus. The film is very Abby and Ellie centric, as much as we'd wanted to explore the other characters. So unfortunately, we did lose a little bit of the other characters, but the idea was there originally. Thank you.
Thank you. What time are we on?
I think we got 5
Do we
more
have
minutes of questions, maybe. If
more?
there's anyone
Anyone
else.
got another question?
Oh,
Oh,
Right.
well, we'll have them both go.
I might as well just stay down there,
yeah.
mightn't I, honestly? I'll get this side first.
I don't like this.
Do you want me to say it? Yeah? What was our best day of shooting?
Oh.
The board in school because we nearly killed Troy. Stand up, Troy.
Go, Troy.
Troy
Hey.
played.
Troy was Tommy.
He played Tommy.
And Troy was working towards a photo shoot at the time, and he was on a cut from his training, so he was on a very strict diet, and he needed an oven to prepare his food, and we didn't have an oven at this place. And we set the back 4 hours of the day aside, and we laid him down on the floor and said, right, we need you to stay there. And we had to bring him round after about 3 hours and send him home because he was just...
The scene where Tommy's lying dead on the floor, Troy just fell asleep.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
it was really good method acting, to be
Method
fair.
acting.
We just
but
kind of
I-
had to poke him awake at some point.
But we probably got 30 or 40% of the film that day in that one location, and it was mental.
Well,
Sam was a machine.
It was
he was just
incredible.
everywhere.
Yeah.
Definitely the boarding school, I think, was the best day, because wherever you went in there, was it 40 rooms?
Yeah, 40 rooms.
40 rooms. Wherever you went, there was something happening. We had about 3 or 4 different photographers with us.
Yeah.
There was always photos happening. There was filming happening. There were people just chilling. It was really
It was a
fun.
really good day.
I
It was-
think
It was a really good
it was also the first day where it kind of, for
We
the
had everyone
first
there.
time, got to me that we were making an actual film and not just hanging out with a group of cosplayers having a good time. Yeah, it was the first day when we realized, wow, this is really a thing we're doing. So, yeah.
It was pretty
But
cool.
Thank you.
Oh, it's loud around here. There we
Last
go.
question?
Last question.
Because the games are so big and they have such a dedicated fan base, did you feel a lot of pressure before you kind of made the film and put it out that people
So
weren't gonna
much
like
pressure.
so much pressure.
I think the first time I cosplayed Abby, Neil Druckmann retweeted it, and I got a lot of pushback from that. And I think we felt the fan base is quite intense, and doing something like this, we kind of prepared ourselves and everyone else. Like, we know there might be some hate, there might be some people who won't like the film, who will be really outspoken about it, and we definitely felt that on our shoulders the entire way
and
through.
when Sam and Abby did the first little shoot and got the little bit of footage, we put a little 15-second teaser together and we put it on YouTube, and it went everywhere. It was in NME, it was on all sorts of websites, and we had 15 seconds of footage. We had a guy donate £500 towards the film that we hadn't properly started making, and we had people started donating money to us to make this film. And that's when the pressure really set in. That's when it started to get, oh, shit.
And I think we felt a lot of pressure in the way that, obviously, that we always knew it would be divisive in the way that there's a lot of people that don't like the second game or have opinions. But I think, as Ellie, for me, there was a lot of pressure of how emotional a role that was. And we knew we'd be doing Joel's death, and we knew we'd be exploring other things. And I wanted to, personally, I was really nervous about the pressure of just living up to that and living up to that emotion. So it was that thing of that best day was the filming at a boarding school, but that was also one of the worst days emotionally for me, because it was a really tough
hard.
shoot.
It took a long time to recover from that. That was a tough day.
So there definitely was a lot of pressure, both in the way of just people's reaction, and I think us as cosplayers making this thing coincidentally. So, yeah.
But thank you very much.
Thank you for the questions.
Thank you for all the questions, and thank you for coming and hanging out with us. That was really cool. We've got a little thing to show you now, so we hope you enjoy it. And if
We
you
have a
want,
little warning. It
yeah.
is really flashy, so if you have any photosensitivity problems or epileptic,
Yeah, does
possible
anyone need to take a
reactions.
step out for
Yeah.
flashes? Because we'd rather you step out now.
just warning you now.
We'll just give a minute, just make sure no one's up and moving.
but yeah,
Okay,
thank you
well,
for coming. It was
enjoy.
great to see you all.
Please come up if you have any questions afterwards. We'll be around
Yeah.
and
But here's a
enjoy.
sneak peek at what we're working on next.
Yes.
So.
Thank you.